zone. And as we were doing some research, one thing that kind of surprised me is that 2/3 of all drivers exceed the speed limit through school zones. And we'll get into some solutions we have for that to try to do that. But and as we know, speed often relates to a more dangerous situation and severity of the incidents. So I know we have a lot of Canadian people that are joining us today. So did some research on from the Canadian Institute of Health. Again, talking about how those speeds can have a direct correlation to the severity of the crash. And so when speed is involved with children, that was implicated as most of someone was speeding. But to show you the severity, so if you're going at 30 kilometers per hour and there's a crash, 5% of children struck are killed. But if you increase that speed up to 70 kilometers per hour, 85% are killed. So a dramatic, impact in the speed, and goes up an order of magnitude. The other thing that was quite surprising is that mid-block crossings is the single most area where there's likely to be injury. Yet when 70% of these accidents that occurred at the mid-block, they were within 200 meters of an intersection. And the Canadian Institute of Child Health also indicated that if you do implement traffic calming measures, this can reduce injury rates by about 30%. So a lot of people have been concerned about traffic safety around schools and the routes to school. So there was a Safe Routes to School program that really initiated in Denmark in the 1970s and has spread around the globe. Government initiatives in the US and Canada started in the early 2000s. And for the US and Canada, there's a national program that's promoting more riding and walking to school, riding bikes and walking to school, and promoting those safe routes to school. In the US, this program is currently funded under the Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP. Also, a lot of our systems, you'll find that under the Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP, there's eligible funding for these types of devices. The Safe Routes to School program focuses on the 5 E's. We're primarily going to focus on the latter one, the engineering side of it, but there's definitely a multi-phase component to this. So the first one is education. So it's involving both parents and students and administrators, which, by the way, we appreciate our teachers that are out there. I guess it's Teacher Appreciation Week this week. Right. And so we felt it was kind of timely to have this. There's some great ads out there right now with people having to homeschool their children, of how much we appreciate teachers. So there's this education element. Yeah. And also, we've been doing it at TraffiCalm, kind of a school safety emphasis in April and May, because we understand that a lot of school administrators, that's when they're doing their planning for the fall. So even though a lot of us, things have changed and kids may be studying at home, hopefully things start to open up and we get back more to normal in the fall. Yeah. And things go from there. There's also encouragement, which is encouraging people to have campaigns to walk to school, to ride to school.
So I think we just missed the ride to school week, or ride to school day, like 2 weeks ago or whatever. Obviously, the whole campaign kind of fell flat because nobody's going to school. But it's an annual event where you can encourage kids and their families to ride to school together and use alternative means of transportation.
Cool. I was not aware of that. Yeah. So. And then evaluation, if you go on some of the websites that promote safe routes to school, they have some nice tools for walking, evaluating the routes, working with your local city engineer. Does there need to be some additional crosswalks? Do they need to be, the sidewalks, do they need to be widened? Is there additional signage? These types of things.
Can I say something there?
Yeah.
So at TraffiCalm, we for years have sold a wrong way product, and for every ramp that we sell this wrong way product onto, we provide like an evaluation of that ramp and
Mhm.
where you would utilize the products. We can do the same thing for school zones as well, called a school zone audit or something like
Right,
that.
right.
And, show you exactly where the products would be utilized in that school zone and map it
Mhm.
out. So it's kind of a graphical or visual representation of where we would recommend
Yeah.
specific solutions to be utilized.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for bringing that up. And
yeah.
during this time in April and May, well, now we're in May, but
Yeah.
for the our school zone program, we were offering those free school zone audits. So
Right.
if you reach out to us, we can get you in touch with your regional manager, and we can coordinate that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
then there's also the enforcement side of things. As we know, I mean, if you place a police car in a school zone, it can reduce speeds and be quite dramatic, but they can't be everywhere, at all schools. So
Right.
even having crossing guards, is a form of enforcement.
Okay.
But and some parts across the world, there's even automated enforcement systems.
Mm.
And then there's all sorts of things to do around engineering, and that's what we're going to focus on. And we're going to do some shameless plugs about our own products and what we have to help promote those safe routes to school.
Yeah.
So we talked about walking to school and biking, and over the past 30 to 40 years, we've really seen a dramatic decline in the amount of kids that walk or ride to school. Also, just general physical activity, and you've seen that in obesity rates and diabetes and these types of things.
Yeah.
So from 1969 to 2009, you see this huge decline, whether it's and a big increase in going on the family vehicle.
Okay.
School buses kind of remain the same. That was for me.
Yeah.
But and I know when you get to a certain age, like my son, we lived super close to school. He could walk to school, but he still wanted it. As soon as he got his driver's license, he could, drive his Jeep to school,
Yeah.
and that became kind of a nice thing for him to do. But
That's awesome.
Yep. But there's definitely healthy benefits, according to the Safe Routes to School program, that if you walk a mile each way, that's 2/3 of your recommended physical activity for the day. So you can be getting in that physical activity just in your commute.
Okay.
So why aren't people walking to school as much? And so there's been several studies. Safe Routes to School, there was a study in Gilroy, California, that showed that 54% of the population lived within walking distance of the school. But of that 54%, 69% still drove their children to school. So you say, why? And so they started interviewing the parents. almost 55% said safety at intersections and crosswalks that they were concerned about.
Okay.
Or the distance, even though they lived within the range that the school considered walkable or rideable, they were concerned about that. Probably depended upon the age of the child. You don't want the smallest, younger children to go long distances. And then a lot of concern about traffic speed. It was just, too dangerous of a situation.
Right.
Nationally, the reasons cited are distance, like we talked about again, traffic-related danger, weather. Obviously, if it's when I lived in Wisconsin for a while, brutal winters.
Can't walk to school.
No,
Negative.
but I found my kids still, they'd put a parka on and go in shorts and still walk to school.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes when they were younger. But and then crime danger too. So they want to make sure their kids are there. And again, we're going to be focusing more on the traffic-related danger side during this seminar. So you think, okay, maybe I'm a little concerned about these items, whether it's the traffic speed or the conditions, or so is driving to school safer? And not necessarily. So motor vehicle crashes are one of the leading causes of death for school-age children. We talked about the 100 deaths in a school zone in the U.S. By walking or riding, but there's 1,149 children under 14 were killed by being motor vehicle occupants. And many more accidents. There are up to 172,000 crashes and injuries. And also, there's an economic and environmental impact of driving to school. studies have shown that parents driving to school comprise 10 to 14% of the motoring rush hour traffic. There's this little image here that you see of everybody queued up going into school. That's classic one where my son goes to high school. Like I said, we're less than half a mile away. When school was in session, he could walk there faster because he would drive, get into the queue lanes to turn, and it's just, huge traffic congestion around the schools. So.
Oh, yeah. 2 years ago, I lived near like a school zone high school. I think the same high school your son went to. Almost every day you drive by, there's some sort of fender bender or somebody hopped a median and rolled their car or something like that.
Yeah. Got to get to science class in time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is a saying that I got off the Safe Routes to School programs that keep calm and carry on to school. So we'll talk a little bit more now about some of the various applications that we have for traffic calming and school safety.
Sure, yeah. So that's my part. So I'll be more physical, hands-on with the product here behind us, you'll see, and kind of showing you what we present as TraffiCalm. So we offer basically 3 solutions at the moment for providing coexisting or increasing safety for coexistent mobility in school zones. So that means, improving driver awareness, improving driver safety, as well as improving pedestrian safety. So the 3 primary solutions that we're going to talk about are flashing school zone signs, driver feedback signs, and pedestrian push-to-cross systems. So I'll stop sharing my screen here and go to video. So behind us, you'll see we've got kind of, for demo purposes, 2 solutions tied together on the same post, but these could be easily separated. So right now I'm going to talk about driver feedback signs. Obviously, Dan's gone through a lot of data and a lot of information about what we need to do or why we need to do things for school zones. Now, for the last, since 2001, I guess, what's that, 19 years, TraffiCalm has sold products that have been utilized in school zones to slow driver speeds and to increase calmness in school zones. So we have a lot of experience in getting drivers to slow down. And our primary focus for the last 21 years has been the driver feedback sign. Now with our driver feedback signs, I'll kind of swivel the post here to show you what I'm talking about. Get it? There we go. There. So you got a really ergonomic design. You'll see it's really actually quite slim. It doesn't have much of a presence on the roadway, which is intentional. You don't want to distract drivers with this type of product. You want to encourage them to slow down. So with our products, you don't get an unusual appearance on the roadside. It looks like any normal speed limit sign, except now it's telling you how fast you're going. There we go. Pull up my notes here, sorry. So you'll notice there's just a simple bracket on the back of the sign here. That's how you mount it. It's just a 2-bolt system. The cables are kind of tight on here, but anyway, with just 1 bolt removed, I'm able to remove the sign from the post. On the other side, I've got a bracket that mounts to whatever post you've got. So it could be a wood post, could be a round post, could be a square post. This bracket's going to be utilized for any of those. And really easy deployment, makes it easy for installation. The installers have never really had much of a complaint about how this system goes on the post. And so once you've got the sign on the post, you've got to set the sign up. Now with our driver feedback signs, you've got a lot of options for the setup of this device to get drivers to slow down, especially in school zones. So you can watch the display here as it cycles through its demo. When it gets toward the upper speed settings, it's going to start flashing words like slow down. It's even going to flash too fast when you go over a set speed limit. And those are all user definable parameters within the setup or the configuration of the sign itself. By the way, the configuration is really easy. You can do it from any Android phone or tablet or from a Windows PC. So that makes it really simple to set these up on the roadside. Like I said, we have 21 years of experience with these devices. And in that time, we've supported many school administrators, school maintenance personnel, police officers in the setup and use of these signs on a day-to-day basis. And we've never had a customer that couldn't get through the setup process and have an operational sign on the roadside. Our support is top-notch. I'll kind of go into that later, but we really rely on our support to get customers in a successful state with their products on the road. once you got the sign set up, you can also set up a schedule in the sign. That schedule is going to allow you to change the thresholds or the speed thresholds of the sign, so that if you have a reduced speed zone, you can flash the speed or flash messages or the driver's speed at the drivers at a lower speed. So obviously, like in a school zone, you're going to reduce from, let's say, 35 to 25 miles an hour. The sign can reflect that change. And then finally, you can also, a lot of our driver feedback signs collect data. So you can get driver speed data off the roadway and kind of go through your averages and even present that to law enforcement, so that maybe you can justify having a patrol car put out there at specific times of day. Our driver feedback signs come in a couple different flavors. So this is our IQ series of sign. It's kind of just our standard, it's a 12-inch IQ series, so 12-inch character height, and has the full feature that we offer in driver feedback. So that's going to be data collection, scheduling, and the full matrix display, able to show messages. We also have a less expensive solution that's called our value series. It includes the solar, it's got a built-in battery, and it's kind of just like a one-stop easy solution to put on the roadside. Doesn't quite have as many features. You lose the scheduling and the data collection, but again, just really easy implementation. Probably 45 minutes to an hour of setup if you already have the post in the ground. That's one cool thing about our products, is that they really are meant to go on the existing infrastructure. So you're not going to be investing in new posts. You're not going to be investing in footings or trenching. With solar power and our really efficient signs, you're not going to be spending a lot of money to get the thing on the post. Just getting to the point where it's on the post is all that it costs.
Are there things to consider with solar power?
Absolutely. So that's one thing I was going to suggest, is we have a couple different power options for these signs. So you could run AC power, but we also have 5 or 6 different solar supplies for the roadway that the sign's put on. So we provide a solar calculation that'll allow you to determine what size solar power you need to run to operate this sign on your roadway. And we have great success with solar kits all across North America.
Yeah, and that's one thing I would encourage all of you. If you're thinking about deploying a system, reach out to your local dealer. We can help you get in touch with who that is, or your regional manager. And like Andy was saying, we do have the solar calculator. So we take the posted speed limit and the average daily traffic, and we pull all the weather data from that, and we're properly sizing the solar system.
Right.
Because we find sometimes that if there is technical support issues, it can be because people have purchased an undersized solar and battery system.
Yeah.
And so you really want to make sure it's properly sized. And when you're looking at competitive systems, that you're comparing apples to apples, and someone hasn't just tried to sell you a less expensive system, but it's not going to run during the wintertime.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And one advantage to these signs being used in school zones is that they can be scheduled to be off during the non-school zone hours, or whatever, those off hours when the speed limit's normal. So you do have some savings there. We can potentially size a smaller solar supply because of that factor. So maybe the sign's only on for 2 to 4 hours a day. So you need less solar power to operate the sign. So there's a couple options with our driver feedback signs. Now in the school zone, you're going to want to use fluorescent yellow green, and that's METCD approved as far as I know. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you'll be using the orange, yellow, I'm sorry, taking it out of my brain. It looks orange, it's yellow display or decal. And so we have a lot of different options to suit the roadway that the sign's going on.
So that's for advisory type signs. That's right, in advisory applications, and the fluorescent yellow green for the school zones, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's kind of the brief overview of our driver feedback sign. You have a lot of options within the configuration utility to cater to the roadway and to your own personal taste. So like brightness settings, you can adjust the brightness, but it's also automatically adjusted by ambient light. There's a lot of features built in that sign that make it easy to use, and also just perfect for the roadway to get drivers to slow down. On the less expensive side, though, what's up, Lee? No? No question.
Audio just cut for a second, but you're fine.
Okay, good. Sorry. Sounds like our audio cut out, but we're good. On the lesser expensive side, and one of our more recent developments is our flashing sign system. So you'll see that at the top of the post here. Now you can use these two together. In fact, the driver feedback sign has an output that can control the LED ring or external beacons. But we also have a standalone controller, or basic or advanced controller from our flashing sign systems product line. And this allows a really quick implementation. You apply a ring. I'll show you a ring here. This is the ring we've developed. So it is just, in fact, how does that look on video? There we go. It is just a very thin ergonomic ring that applies to the sign that you already have in the field. And that allows you to enhance the visibility of the sign, or noticeability. Visibility is great. You know, reflective material is a very successful approach to signage, obviously. But with the ring, you enhance the noticeability of the sign. Going back to my early driving days, you know, it was pretty frustrating. Like, one of my first tickets was in a school zone because I didn't notice that are we good, Lee? No audio?
We froze.
Oh,
It's back.
okay. Sorry, we're having a little technical problems here, but that's why Lee's here to let us know if we need to pause for a minute. How are we doing, Lee?
Looks like we're good.
Okay, great.
It's fine.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Hold on. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Oh, my personal experience with getting a ticket in a school zone. I didn't know that it was an active school zone because there was one of the signs that said speed limit during these hours. I didn't have enough time to read the hours that were displayed on that sign. You know, passing by it at a reasonable speed for, you know, within the normal speed limit. I didn't notice that I was in school zone hours. So this kind of provides unquestionable activity of that school zone, and at a really inexpensive cost and quick implementation. Again, retrofits to the sign that's there, uses the post that's already there.
Can I just add to that a little bit?
Absolutely.
So when we talked about it initially, that 2/3 of people speed through school zones often, and so that's where there's a lot of studies that we have, third-party studies on the effectiveness of these systems.
Mm-hmm.
And a school zone is one of the best locations you can put a driver feedback sign, because it's exactly like that. People don't want to be speeding if they're afraid they're going to endanger a child.
Right.
So it's a matter of, you know, there's applications like speed transition zones, school zones, where, you know, they see the speed limit, posted speed limit, they see your speed, and then they look at their speedometer and they brake.
Yeah.
And so it's shown to be highly effective at reducing mean speeds. And even over long periods of time, multiple years, there's been studies done, they're still very effective at reducing those mean speeds. And again, like you're talking about, knowing when it really is the school zone time, when the speed limit may be reduced.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, so sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's great. That's great information. Yeah. So the setup of this product is even easier than the driver feedback sign. You just select the speed limit that you want it to start flashing at, or the time of day that you want to start flashing at. So it has a full schedulable time clock in it, really standard like what you would see in any school zone flasher. It's all controlled off of this device up top here, which all you can see in the video is a solar panel, which is awesome because all of our hardware mounts to the back of that solar panel. For most installations, there's bigger solar kits that we can provide more power for this system. But for the most part, you're going to see a solar panel with all the hardware behind it. I'll show you the controller in a minute. Oh, right there. Sorry, Lee's pointing out that I have one right behind me. So you can see on the back of the solar panel, there is the controlling device back there. And that provides Wi-Fi connectivity, so you don't have to have internet connection or anything like that, but you just connect to it with any Wi-Fi device, and a website is hosted on the device that allows you to make the full configuration changes. And you can take a configuration from one device and perpetuate it to multiple devices by just saving a configuration to your tablet or your phone or your computer and going from post to post. So it's a really easy setup. You can get a whole school zone covered in less than a day with this type of material. Installers have not had any trouble setting these up, installing them. Again, like this ring just mounts to the sign face with tape. You can you can use self-tapping screws to really mount it well. But the adhesive tape has proven to be a very successful way to mount these.
Yeah, so when you say tape, it's
yeah.
like a VHB tape.
I can't get close enough here, but there's
3M.
actually...
It's, you know, they use some of the stuff to hold on airplane wings, you know.
Yeah, right,
so
exactly. Yeah.
It's not like Scotch tape. It's highly durable up there.
Peel it back, but you can see the red film here. That's on the surface of the tape. That's what we utilize to apply the sign ring to the sign. This is just a standard sign. There's nothing special about the sign. If you look at the back of it, there's no wiring, no cabling, no hardware on the back of this sign whatsoever. It just looks like a normal sign from the back, which is a huge benefit to using this product.
So we have like about 50-50. Some people like us to provide the static sign because then we're factory installing the ring and providing that, so we can provide you the full solution. But also you can certainly, you know, get your static sign maybe utilize an existing infrastructure, like you said,
Yeah.
or buy it less expensively locally. But that is nice with the retrofittable rings to be able to use it on existing equipment.
Yeah, exactly. And this ring is fully MUTCD compliant. In fact, we hold that it is the most MUTCD compliant LED solution because we are highlighting the border of the sign and maintaining the shape of the sign. So because we have very little space between our groups of LEDs, it still looks like the sign that it's enhancing. So you get that effect that it is a recognizable sign, like our stop sign flashing next to it right here. Looks like a stop sign even from 2 miles away. You know that sign's coming up, before you can actually read what's on the sign.
So that's an excellent point, because when you talk about the manual on uniform traffic control devices, it says, to enhance signs with LEDs is allowed.
Yeah.
And if you're to do it, you got to maintain the same shape of the sign. So like Andy was saying, if it's an octagon, we're fully outlining that.
Right.
You see the rectangular shape here or the diamond shaped sign, even in foggy conditions or whatever. We're not just putting LEDs in the corners. So again, like you said, we feel like we're one of the tightest to ascribe to the MUTCD principles when it comes to LED enhanced signs.
That's right, exactly. So the result is a sign that gets drivers' attention, doesn't distract them, so they're not going to just stare at this and drive into it as they pass by it. They're going to actually recognize what the sign says and carry on at a safe speed, and and all that in a really quick time frame. From the time it delivers to your dock to when it's on the post is a really short time frame. I think what's our lead time on these signs?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So I mean, you could put an order in today and have product up on the post within 3 weeks.
That's good.
Yeah. So
We'll take orders via the chat line too.
Settle dollar value, and we'll make sure it happens. So moving on from just our standard flashing sign system to a more advanced application, at least going to pan the camera here. I'll talk about our push-to-cross system, which is really important in school zones, is to allow the pedestrians to push a button and be confident that drivers are aware of their presence. So at TraffiCalm, we offer a lot of solutions for pedestrian safety, pedestrian crossing safety, especially at the mid-block, where Dan kind of presented that statistic about mid-block safety. This is a perfect application of that. So as with any of these push-to-cross systems, you've got your push button. We also offer our own RFB. It's extremely robust. I'll talk about that in a minute. You've got your sign ring enhancing the sign. And we would recommend that you use both. The sign gets awareness brought to it, but also the benefits of the RFB and the RFB flash pattern are utilized here. And then again, just the same flashing sign controller that we're used to. So we have a controller and collaborator wirelessly working together on opposite sides of the room here. And so there's no wires between the two. Only the only wire that you would need is whatever powers it. In this case, we have solar power, so there's not even wires into the ground. So as I push the button here, you'll kind of see how it functions. We've got a really quick interface between the two. Activation and synchronization is really critical in our signage. So you can see that they function almost nearly at exactly the same time. You can kind of see some discrepancy in the video there. That's kind of the LED flicker. We do an LED flicker to save power, but it's not perceptible by the human eye. The camera's frame rate causes it to appear slightly different. Our compatibilities with this system, again, RFB flash pattern is built in. You can select that in the interface from any flashing sign controller. We are also compatible with standard push buttons here, or audible push buttons, which I believe it's turned off. Activate that there. The audible push button.
Yellow lights are flashing.
There we are.
Yellow lights are flashing. Yellow lights are flashing. Yellow lights are flashing.
And that's ambient noise adjustment. So as I talk louder, it'll try to talk over me. So I'm going to shut it off so it doesn't do that, because I don't want to be talked over. So that's our push-to-cross system. Same physical installation as our other flashing sign systems. It's a ring that applies to the sign face. Really intuitive bracketing and installation systems. The wiring can all be concealed within the post. It's really, really clean installation when it's all done. And then you get into the setup of the system, and it's so intuitive. You log into the system for the first time as it's powered on. You power on the whole system, and then you log into the controlling device, which is the one with the green label on it. And the controlling device, or the controller, as we call it, has the full, again, built-in web interface, so you can set up the parameters of this. The first question you're asked is, what kind of system is this? And in this case, you set it up as a push-to-cross system. So really, really quick installation again, and you get that safety. I noticed in like my neighborhood I was talking about where I walk my kids to school, we have static signage, but we don't have a push-to-cross system. And it would be such a quick step for them to install this hardware on that zone. It's a transition from the school to the neighborhood. And I feel like a lot of kids use it. I've seen a lot of kids use it, and there's, they could put crossing guards there and things like that. But for the most part, this system would function very well in that scenario. Again, compatible with whatever post you've got. So here we've got our nice Pelco spun aluminum post, 4.5 inch.
4.5 inch outside diameter.
Yeah, you can also use wood posts or Telspar or square post, even U-channel, but it's kind of a little on the weaker side. So we recommend a more robust post for this. Anything to add about the push-to-cross system?
Just that, again, studies showing that they're highly effective. So the use of the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RFBs, increases yielding behavior up to 88%. So when you think about, our kids crossing that school, increase in that type of percentage is pretty dramatic to the safety benefit.
Yeah.
Also, we've shown it with both the rings and the RFB.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done in any sort of combination and still be METCD compliant. So you could have the push button and just the RFBs. You could have the push button and just the flashing rings, or both for increased visibility and awareness. So.
That's awesome. Great.
And both systems, whether they're the audible push button or the standard piezo electric button, they're both ADA compliant, but one obviously that has the audible tone for specifications where you need to help with the seeing impaired.
Yeah, exactly. And again, sign ring enhances the shape of the sign, stays within the border, it's fully compliant, really clean design. And really, the side profile is just nothing. It looks like a normal sign, which is cool. This RFB kind of took us on a journey of building a very rugged product. I'd like to talk for a minute about like how we design and build extremely rugged products for the road. So for you, is the RFB in frame here in the fish tank? Okay, great. So in our display here, this is something we take to ATSA shows or TRB. If you've seen it, that's awesome. But if not, this is actually a fish tank full of water with a functioning RFB in it. And this RFB has been through a little bit of testing. So if you've seen our video, you can go to YouTube and search TraffiCalm and pull up our RFB video. And it shows the testing we put this device through. But this one specifically has skid marks on it where we ran it over with a truck. It's missing several LEDs off the end where we cut it off with a bandsaw, and it still continued to function like this. And it's been functioning in this water tank for going on 2 years, almost 3 years, I guess. And it's still ticking away. And the reason is because we designed it so well. We have fully potted electronic assembly, so there's no exposure to water or corrosives at all. The LEDs are a 10-year LED, and that's at 100% output, which we don't utilize the full 100% output. So you get potentially more than 10 years of use out of this product. Warranty's great, but the actual life of the product is considerable. We've heated this unit up to, I don't know, how high do we heat it up to, Lee? 100 C or no?
210 C.
210 C.
No.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. You can watch the video. We show the exact temperature we heat it up to, but extremely high temperatures, high enough to fry an egg on that middle plate right there, the middle surface right here. We fried an egg on it, and then we froze the thing into a popsicle, and it's just like got icicles hanging off of it. It's still just flashing away, and then we dunked it in a pool. And this is still functioning in the swimming pool. This is the exact unit that was in that video, so it's kind of a rock star, I guess.
So where would they go to find that video?
Oh yeah, so Dan was asking where you could hit that video up at. You can go to our YouTube channel. If you just search YouTube, TraffiCalm on YouTube, that's TraffiCalm on YouTube. You're gonna pull up that video. It's one of our most watched videos for good reason. It's pretty fun to watch. It shows our design process and all that. So once we had that product design, we decided all of our other products need to be the same strength or testability. So this is our control unit. You'll notice it's constructed out of, how close am I? Am I good? Oh, there we go. It's constructed out of really heavy duty plastic, all milled aluminum and plastic. and a really strong unit. And then all the electronics inside are, again, that same poly material. So there's no exposed electronics. All the connections are greased so that they're watertight. This unit is extremely strong. And the batteries we utilize are also a very rugged configuration. They're not just normal. Well, we have options for not just normal AGM batteries, but like advanced AGM batteries. They offer a lot of strength against cold temperatures. So I'm going to go kind of into some of our other products that we sell. That kind of concludes what we have offering for school zones. But Leo, follow me over here to the other side of the room. We offer a couple different solutions that you can use perhaps surrounding school zones. So like this is our chevron system, or our curve warning system. It's a sequential chevron. This sign's not flashing because the radar is not activating it right now, but the rest of the signs are set to sequence through. That helps raise drivers' awareness to an approaching curve. You'll notice the maintenance of the sign shape here is fantastic. In fact, you get like a little bit of a glow on the video there, and that kind of gives you an idea of what the driver would see, on the roadside. And it looks like a chevron, from far, far away. So more than the reflective, you're going to get this completely noticeable LED chevron as you approach it. So that's going to increase your awareness in those scenarios. We've got just kind of our water over roadway system, which just represents just our standard flashing sign system approach. Here we've got our more robust E-box. It's got the advanced AGM battery I just talked about in there. And then obviously just our standard sign ring on the sign. And then you can also configure the back of the sign is controlled by that controller up there. And then finally, you've got our wrong way sign. I just noticed I made a kind of an error. I unplugged one side of the RFB, but not the other. The RFB was just so bright in the video that I wanted to unplug it there, but I didn't do both sides. So hopefully you can see my face still. But this RFB is set at 100% output for the wrong way scenario, so it's actually quite bright. But you get a lot of options there for stopping wrong way drivers. And this is just indicative of the products that TraffiCalm sells. We're very innovative. We try to be on the cutting edge of what's going to be useful out on the roadway. And wrong way is one of those instances where we've acknowledged and experienced a great change in safety on the roadway. So Dan, do you have anything else to add, or?
I don't think so.
Should we open it up for questions?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand there. I'll go back to my desk and get Dan in frame here.
So Lee, are we seeing anything on the chat? Any questions there that we need to respond to at this point?
We had a question that you answered about ATCD compliance,
Okay.
and then can signs be activated by radar?
Yep.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Absolutely. We highly encourage that. So we can add, there's one on the far side that on the curve warning system that we manufacture our own radar. So it's quite an inexpensive solution. You put that on the sign and it just activates the flashing sign upon detection of a vehicle. So, even for example, like the sign that's behind me now, we have this conflict intersection warning system. We can have radars in side streets and to activate, if you're on the main line and, coming across, or if you're approaching on the side street and it says, cross traffic does not stop, and we're detecting those vehicles that are coming. So it starts the flashing.
Right.
Again, using this dramatically increases the stop and yield rates. Multiple studies have shown that. So radar is a highly effective way to do that.
Yeah.
On a simple 4-approach stop, for example, you could either have it 24/7 flashing, or if you had just the radar there attached to a basic controller, you come up and when it detects a vehicle, it starts flashing. Or if you have our intelligent controllers, you could have all 4 approaches communicating to each other wirelessly through our meshnet communication. So lots of different options. In the school zone, the same thing. We have, the driver feedback signs automatically comes with the radar. It's a radar speed sign. But we can have other warning signs triggered by radar. Typically, the push-to-cross, we do not have radar activated because you're having it activated by the pedestrian push button.
Yeah.
So
And the radar can be used in conjunction with the schedule of the system as well, right?
Right.
So you could have a scheduled system that only comes on when the radar is activated. So you get,
Mhm.
you know, a buildup of configuration there. As a company, we have so much experience with driver feedback and the radar that supports that we just carried that radar over to the flashing sign systems. So we have, you know, we know exactly how much radar you need, what kind of radar you need, and so we provide an excellent radar solution.
Do the color of the LEDs on the signs have to match the color of the reflective sheet?
So in general, yes. So we are using an amber color LED that works on both the fluorescent yellow green and yellow signs.
Yeah.
There's not like a fluorescent yellow green LED out there, but
Unfortunately.
so that matches, and you'll see it on the regulatory signs. We have the white LEDs, and you might have noticed on the wrong way, do not enter systems, we're using the red LEDs. Of course, on the stop sign, have the red LEDs. So yes, in general, you're matching the color of the LEDs to the color of the sign, the static portion of the sign.
That's right.
And as we talked about before, you know, MUTCD has these guiding principles. So if you're in a construction work zone, you have, you know, orange signs. If you're in a school zone, it's fluorescent yellow green. Advisory warning signs are yellow, and, you know, regulatory signs are black and white or red and white.
Cool.
Okay, Rob Hay has a question about advanced warning, specifically how many collaborators can be controlled by the controller.
It's a couple hundred as far as it hasn't been.
Right.
We haven't connected as many as we possibly can, but I believe there's 212 or 244 potential connections.
Yeah, I know it's in the hundreds. I don't know the exact amount. We can get that to you, that information to you, Rob.
Yeah.
But again, in each system, you always only have one controller.
Right.
And then you have multiple collaborators. So we use a wireless meshnet radio communications. So the controller doesn't need to be within range of every sign.
Yeah.
So the communications kind of hops from one. So if one sign can communicate to the other, so we typically have a range of about 3,500 feet line of sight, 1,500 feet non-line of sight. So we can create this meshnet radio communications to communicate to all the signs within the regions.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking our conflict warning system, that we can control up to 9 poles. One radar sensor or sensor of any type can tell 9 other poles to flash at any point. So we have some limitations there, but just adding collaborators to a system we've never really experienced in the field, the capacity of what the system can operate.
Yeah. Great example of that. We were equipping a mine in Montana where the mine trucks had an intersection with a public road. And the repeating of the system came in really handy because we were actually around the curve of a mountain side. And so there was no way for those two devices, you know, on either side of that mountain to ever see each other. But because of the repeating, we had devices, you know, alternating on the other side of the road, and they bounced back and forth, and it was a fully functioning system when it was all installed. But, you know, initially those two could not talk to each other because of that mountain in the way.
Another application is on our curve warning systems that Andy was showing that include the advanced curve warning sign, and then the sequencing chevrons. So again, you'll have like one controller, and typically it's on the lead advanced warning sign, but it can be placed anywhere. And that advanced curve warning sign, for example, we deployed quite a few systems down in Texas, and they were having you know, kind of some vertical rise in hills, and the speed limit's, you know, fairly high there, the posted speed limit. So even when they would come over these hills, they would be traveling almost too fast by the time they hit the curve. So we put the flashing sign and a radar on the advanced curve warning sign. So it's about 900 to 1,000 feet in advance of the curve. Start that flashing when it's activated by the radar. The wireless communications then goes to the sequencing chevrons that tells them to sequence through there to allow that and reduce roadway lane departures. So a lot of different applications we can use with radar, or the wireless meshnet communications, or other input devices such as ice sensors or flood sensors or those types of things.
Frank would like us to touch on the illuminating strips for posts.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah, it's not fully launched yet, so
quite yet.
and we have to be.
It's a prototype.
Yeah, and there's some things we're doing as filing the patent, so I have to hold off on holding on that based upon the timing. But just so you know, we have an exciting new product line coming that can potentially provide more solutions for both the safety school zone. I apologize for being elusive there, but we just got to make sure everything's done in the proper order from a patent perspective. So.
Right.
Okay. Question about programming.
Yeah.
Done with only Android, Windows. Can they program on an iPad or iPhone?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So with our driver feedback signs, those are Windows only or Android only. On all the rest of our products, all of our flashing sign systems, including the push-to-cross and the curve warning, you can program with any Wi-Fi enabled device. So that includes iPhones, iPads, Apple computers, Chromebooks, the whole gamut.
And so it's a concept that a lot of times people don't really fully understand. So basically, the software resides within the controller. So when you power it up, it creates a Wi-Fi signal. So just like when you're at your computer or phone at a hotel and you select which router you want to connect to, you connect to that, and then you go to our URL, and so you don't need an application or an app on your phone or computer. You don't need the special software. It all resides there, and then after 2 hours, it shuts itself down to prevent hacking into the system. And so.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of installers, if they miss the step where they have to have a piece of software in their hands when they go out to the roadside, that's a huge frustration because then they have to go back to their office, download that software, and then put it to use in the field. With our systems, flash and sign systems, you don't have to worry about that. It's all on the device itself. So as long as you have Wi-Fi, you can connect to it and make changes to it within that 2-hour time frame. That's really critical because if it's outside the 2 hours, then it's shut down.
And you have to recycle power to get it back up.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, Dawn would like for you to touch on, do you think now is a good time to be pitching these products? It's definitely an odd year. I heard you say April, May, schools tend to be planning for next year's budgets.
Well, I mean, that's a big reason why we've done our school zone promotions. If you go to our website, we have a lot of focus on school zone safety.
Mm-hmm.
We had done some market research and did find that a lot of school administrators in the late April, May timeframe is when they're doing the budget planning, directives and strategies for the next year.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've seen continued strong sales throughout this time period. So people are planning, maybe with a little less traffic, it's a little easier to do some construction activities.
Sure.
And we're starting to see some states opening up, and I'm not going to put any social commentary of what's right and what's wrong, but I think it's definitely smart to start that planning as if things are going to be normal in the fall.
Absolutely. Anything else, Lee?
Yeah. What about Wi-Fi security? Are there different levels of security?
I'm not sure what security, if it's WPA or WEP2 or I can't remember which security level, but it does require a password to get into the Wi-Fi. We'll call it a router at this point, but it's not technically a router, but the Wi-Fi device on there does require a secure password.
And that's also why we shut down after 2 hours. So it's there, it's active for the setup, and then it becomes inactive and there's no way to access it.
Right.
So
there's actually 2 layers of passwords. There's to log into the Wi-Fi and then also to log into the interface.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got double security there. But technically speaking, I can't recall the Wi-Fi security level that's provided.
I don't know it off the top of my head either.
And then device to device, we use secure channels on a proprietary mesh net system, so they can't be interrupted between devices there. And that system maintains active as long as the product's plugged in. So, but it's not a readily available, market available system. It's just developed for our products.
Anything else there, Lee?
There's one other question that we'll circle back to. What determines the size of a driver feedback sign?
Oh, sure. So the speed of the roadway is really what's going to determine the size of that display height. So the faster the driver goes, the less visible the sign is to them. So in a 5 to 25 mile an hour zone, we can provide a 9-inch character height. In a 5 to 35, I believe, is where we recommend the 12. And then 5 to 45 is where we recommend the 15 that's behind here. It's turned off, but it's that size. And we also offer an 18 that's everything above 45 miles per hour, including highway speeds.
And we have those guidelines on some of our driver feedback sign brochures. So there's a little speedometer that tells you, okay, if your posted speed limit's within this range, this is this type of or size of display that you should utilize. As you were talking about, character height directly relates to visibility distance. There's kind of a rough rule of thumb that for every inch in character height, you get about 50 feet of distance. So you kind of map that out, or we can map that out for you. So like you're talking about, when we say this is a 12-inch high, it's the electronic characters there. Also, we're using a highway Gothic font on the static sign, which is we'll see. Sometimes we've seen some smaller sized static signs, but again, you want it to be more visible, the larger it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some time, we've held that you can provide the same size driver feedback sign as the static sign, so they match in height and width.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they look exactly the same dimensionally.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, looks like we have no further questions.
Yeah.
I enjoyed speaking to you about our old childhood days, school days, and appreciated sharing your time with us. Hopefully it was been informative to you. We'll have some further webinars in the future here. We'll let you know about. And there's a recording of this. Yeah. So if you can reach out to us. If some of your coworkers maybe missed it, we can send you a recording.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll be reaching out to everybody that registered and providing that information.
Right, exactly.
And
yeah, we recommend you hit up our website and review all the products you've seen here. There's more details there, data sheets, all the brochures and everything on our website. And also follow us on social media. We have a really dynamic social media offering, so we recommend that you follow us and like what we're doing out there.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks a lot.